Hello everyone, welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Today in this session we are going to discuss the daily quiz for 9th of March 2024. So let's begin with the first question. The first question says, how many of the following statements is or are true about the PM SVANidhi scheme? So when it comes to this scheme, first let me tell you about the scheme, what exactly this scheme is about. Now when it comes to this scheme, this was in the news and I have taken this from the PIB. Now in PIB this was the article, and this article talks about the Atmanirbhar, or that is street vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi, that is PM Swanidhi program. Now this is a program that is kind of a micro credit facility that was initiated by the government of India to support the street vendors who are affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And this scheme basically aims to provide the street vendors with working capital loans to resume their livelihood and to encourage digital transformation. Now overall, when it comes to this particular scheme, just understand something about this scheme and how it is very important, because this scheme, the key feature of this scheme has been how a lot of businesses were affected by COVID-19, and that's why the objective here was to facilitate a working capital loan of up to rupees 10,000 for a tenure of 1 year to all the street vendors to help them resume their businesses. And the eligibility of this scheme was available to all the street vendors who were engaged in vending in the urban areas as or before March 24, 2020. So let's look at the question now. It aims to provide affordable loans to street vendors to resume their businesses post the COVID-19 lockdown. This is correct. We discussed about this. It is implemented by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. This is also correct. It has been taken as a part of this program. Beneficiaries can avail a working capital loan of up to rupees 10,000. This is also correct. So all the three statements given here are correct. So the correct answer here will be C. Moving on to the next question. The next question talks about this Lakhpati Didi scheme, and again something that I have taken from the PIB. Now when it comes to this program, or the Lakhpati Didi program, this is a pivotal initiative that was taken by the Ministry of Rural Development, and this is designed to propel economic empowerment and financial autonomy among all the rural women. And that's why here when it comes to the term Lakhpati Didi, this is something that has been defined as a self-help group member who has an annual household income of up to rupees 1 lakh, or more, not up to, or more. And that's why in this particular scenario what we see is that this is what has been given, and the criteria is not only about highlighting the financial achievements, but also about the transformative journey of women through the adoption of sustainable livelihood that they can get. So that is basically what this program is about. So the program by the Ministry of Rural Development to empower rural women financially by making them earn rupees 1 lakh annually through sustainable agriculture or business practices. And that's why this will be a self-help group member who motivates her community with her economic success and improves the living standards as well. And that's why it promotes diversified livelihoods by coordinating with the government, private and the market sector for comprehensive planning and monitoring. So look at the question now. Consider the following statements regarding the Lakhpati Didi program. The program defines a Lakhpati Didi as a self-help group member with an annual household income of at least rupees 1 lakh, aiming for sustainable economic empowerment among rural women. This is correct. We discussed about this. Emphasizes the adoption of sustainable livelihood practices, effective resource management and achievement of decent standard of living as a key to the transformation journey of rural women, and this is also correct. The third statement is it has been implemented by the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Now this is wrong, right? This is not correct, because what we have discussed, if you look at here, it has been implemented by the Ministry of Rural Development. All right, the Ministry of Rural Development and not by the Ministry of Women and Child Development. So that's why this is wrong. So correct answer, that's why here will be A. That is 1 and 2 only. Moving on, the next question, question number 3, and again something that is based on a PIB article. India receives Measles and Rubella Champion Award for exemplary effort in measles and rubella disease prevention. Now, overall, when it comes to this particular program, we see that this is the measles and the rubella partnership is something that is a multi-agency planning committee. That is something that gives the award, and this is the committee that has given India this prestigious award. Now, overall, when it comes to this award, this is, you can say, in a manner, it is a recognition of India's efforts with regards to measles and rubella. Now, here, that's why celebrates India's unwavering commitment to public health and its outstanding leadership in curbing the spread of these infectious disease among children. Now, these two diseases, first measles. Measles basically is a very highly contagious viral disease which primarily affects children, and it can lead to very severe complications which can include pneumonia or diarrhea or even encephalitis. And this is something that can even lead to the death of the child as well. And on the other hand, when we talk about rubella, something which is also called as German measles sometimes, it is something which is generally a very mild infection, but also particularly becomes concerning for pregnant women because it can lead to serious birth defects, which is also known as the congenital rubella syndrome in the fetus in the early pregnancy. So that's why this is something that becomes crucial for us to understand. And for India, as a part of India's universal immunization program that was started in 2017, we made MR vaccine a part of it. MR vaccine, basically measles, rubella, you can say in a manner. So measles and rubella vaccination. So Government of India had taken or launched rubella, that is measles and rubella vaccination campaign, which had a goal of eliminating measles and rubella with a target year of 2023. And that is something that has led to significant improvement in these data. If you see that efforts have resulted in 50 districts consistently not witnessing any measles case, while 226 districts have not reported any rubella case over the past 12 months. So let's look at the question. The question says, consider the following statements regarding measles and rubella. First, measles is a viral disease that is highly contagious and primarily affects children. This is correct. We discussed about this. Rubella is a mild infectious disease that poses significant risk to pregnant women. As we discussed, that it can lead to complications in the fetus, especially in the early pregnancy. Government of India launched the MR vaccination campaign aiming to eliminate measles and control rubella or congenital rubella syndrome. This is also correct. So that's why all the three statements given here, all these three statements are correct. So correct answer here will be C, that is 1, 2 and 3. Now moving on to the fourth question. How many of the following statements regarding active pharmaceutical ingredients or APIs is correct? Or so look at this particular article. This was published in the Indian Express. India to restart penicillin G manufacture. Why was it stopped? What changed now? This is also an article which I would say is a very good article to read. Now overall, this article talks about penicillin G, and in this context it has mentioned about APIs. So let's first try to understand what do we mean by APIs. API stands for an active pharmaceutical ingredient, and it is something which is a component of any drug that produces the intended effect. Now some of the drugs, such as let's say combination therapies, have multiple active ingredients, and that's why they any drug can either have one API or it can have multiple APIs. And these APIs are essential ingredients in any pharmaceutical drug or in any biological effect. And essentially what we have seen is that they are a very important part of the drug, and they are the ones which are producing the required or the desired health effects in the patients. Now there is the other part of the drug also, and this other part of the drug will help in the delivery of the medicine to the system or to the human body system safely. Now, overall, you have to understand that the APIs are the active ingredients, and plus apart from that there are other ingredients. For example, preservatives can be there, flavoring agents can be there, and there are different materials that will help the body in absorbing these APIs. So that's why these APIs are very, very important, and they can be produced via various different processes. There are chemical synthesis processes that we use, fermentation processes are also used, recombinant DNA methods are even used in case of making these APIs effective. So that's why we see that there are multiple effects, there are multiple processes which are involved in making these APIs effective. And that's why the pharmaceutical companies may produce these APIs themselves, and sometimes these pharmaceutical companies also outsource the production of the APIs manufacturing to the specialists of these APIs. So that's why we see that there are all these things regarding the APIs. Now let's look at the question. The question says, APIs, first statement, APIs are components in drugs that are responsible for the therapeutic effect. This is correct, that APIs basically are the ones that are leading to the pharmaceutical effect, or these are the ingredients. For example, let's say something like a paracetamol, that there are various different combinations that are used, and there are various companies and manufacturers that are using these, but APIs the API paracetamol will be very, very crucial in regard of any fever or any kind of pain relief. So all drugs have one API, only one API to treat a specific condition. This is wrong, that either one or maybe a combination of APIs could be used. So that's why this is wrong. The production of APIs can involve processes such as chemical synthesis, fermentation, and isolation from natural sources. So this is also correct, that there are various processes that we can use. Only pharmaceutical companies in the country where the drug is sold are allowed to produce APIs. Now this is not correct. We discussed that either the company themselves can produce the APIs, or they can also outsource it to some of the specialists of API. So this is a wrong statement. So that's why only 1 and 3 are correct. So only 2 statements are correct. So correct answer will be B. Now let's look at a previous year question. Which of the following statements best describes the role of B cells and T cells in the human body? Now both of these B cells and T cells, they are related to our immune system. They are related to the immune system. So they help in fighting diseases. So first is they protect the body from environmental allergens. So we are basically talking about largely pathogens. Anything that is, or they would help in acting against antigens to the human body. So A should not be correct. They alleviate body's pain and inflammation. No, that's also not correct. They act as immunosuppressants suppressants in the body. They do not suppress the immune system. They help in working of the immune system. So that is also wrong. So correct answer will be they protect the body from disease caused by pathogens, because they will help the immune system to fight against any incoming pathogen or antigen. Now lastly, let's look at the fact of the day, and this is based on an article which is there in today's The Hindu newspaper. Amid fears of AI misuse in upcoming poll, OpenAI executives met Election Commission officials in February, and basically they have offered to discuss any ECI concerns with regards to ChatGPT misuse in the poll season. So now when we talk about ChatGPT, we know that this ChatGPT is a kind of generative AI. So that's why fact of the day today for us is about generative AI. Now when it comes to generative AI, it basically refers to a subset of artificial intelligence technologies that are able to generate new content or new data which may be very similar but not exactly identical to the data that will be produced by humans. So that's why it could produce images, texts, music, video, voice, etc. All these things can be produced which will be very similar to how a human would have produced it, but it's completely generated by artificial intelligence. and this is something that works by learning very vast amount of information from the various training data that has been fed to the system, and whether it is about the data or understanding the patterns or the styles or structures which are there inherent in the data. And once the AI system has been trained, it can then produce new and original outputs which were able to mimic the learned patterns without any exact or without any replication of the exact training data. And that's why there are several models and techniques that are used in the generative AI which help us in building these kind of systems. So just remember the basics, that it is where the AI is able to generate a content which is exactly similar to how a human would have created that data, whether images, videos, text, whatever it is. And largely especially when it comes to something like a chat GPT, it uses a model which is called as GAN. Uses a model called as GAN, that is Generative Adversarial Network, which is kind of a framework that uses neural network where we have something called as a generator and a discriminator. All right, and these are the ones which are trained simultaneously, which is, you can say, in a manner like a thief and a police. So you have a generator and a discriminator. You have a generator and a discriminator, where the generator is, you can say, like the thief. Generator is like a thief and discriminator is like police, and both of them are trying to outmaster each other. One is trying to become better and the other one is trying to catch the thief every time. So this is how the training of the data sets will be done, and in this way the AI models will learn to mimic the data exactly. So this is what generative AI is. So this brings us to the end of today's session. I hope this session was helpful for you. Thank you very much for joining. And please do subscribe to our channel. Please like our videos and comment on the videos about all our initiatives. Thank you.